So hello everyone, in this audio class we will discuss the 20 most important questions from the chapter Solar Radiation, Heat Balance and Temperature. These questions and answers will be very much important for your upcoming KVS and NVS PGT Geography interview. So let's get started with the question number 1. What is insolation? So insolation means incoming solar radiation. It is the energy received from the earth by the sun. The earth receives most of its energy in the form of short wave radiation. For example, when sunlight falls on a playground during noon, the ground becomes warm because it receives insolation. Next question, does the earth receive the same amount of insolation everywhere? No, the amount of insolation varies because of latitude, length of the day, angle of sun rays, transparency of the atmosphere. For example, the equator receives more insolation than the polar regions because the sun rays are more vertical. Next question, why do vertical rays provide more heat than slanting rays? So vertical rays cover a smaller area and therefore concentrate more energy. Slanting rays spread the same energy over a larger area. For example, a torch pointed directly at the wall produces a brighter spot than when it is held at an angle. Next question, why is the equator not the hottest regions of the earth? So although the equator receives maximum insolation, it also has heavy cloud cover, high humidity, frequent rainfall. This reduce heating. For example, subtropical deserts like the Sahara receive less cloud cover and therefore become hotter than the equator. Next question, why do subtropical desert receive maximum insolation? For subtropical desert have clear sky, very little cloud cover, dry air. Therefore, the most solar radiation reaches the surface. For example, the Sahara desert receives very intense solar radiation throughout the year. Next question, what is terrestrial radiation? So after receiving solar energy, the earth re-radiates this energy in the form of long wave radiation. This outgoing heat is called the terrestrial radiation. For example, a road becomes hot during day and continues to release heat after sunset. Next question, why is the atmosphere heated mainly from below? So the atmosphere is largely transparent to short wave solar radiation. The earth absorbs solar energy first and then heats the atmosphere through terrestrial radiation. For example, the floor of a room becomes warm first when sunlight enters through a window. Next question, what is conduction? So conduction is the transfer of heat through direct contact. Heat moves from a warmer object to a cooler object. For example, a metal spoon becomes hot when placed in hot tea. Next question, what is the convection? So convection is the vertical transfer of heat. Warm air rises and cold air sinks. For example, air above a heated field rises upward, creating convection currents. Next question, what is advection? So advection is the horizontal transfer of heat by moving air. It is very important in weather changes. For example, hot winds from desert areas increase temperatures in nearby regions. Next question, which process is more important in the atmosphere, conduction or convection? So convection is more important. Air is a poor conductor of heat, but convection efficiently transfers heat upward. For example, cloud formation mainly occurs because of convection. Next question, what is heat balance of the earth? So heat balance means that the earth receives and loses nearly equal amounts of energy. This maintains a stable average temperature. For example, if incoming energy becomes greater than outgoing energy, global temperatures rise. Next question, why is heat balance important? So without heat balance, earth would continuously become hotter and colder. Life would not survive. Heat balance maintains climatic stability. For example, the average temperature of earth remains suitable for life because of heat balance. What factors affect the temperature distribution on Earth? This is the next question. What factors affect temperature distribution on the Earth? So the answer will be the main factors are latitude, altitude, distance from the sea, ocean currents, air masses. These determine local temperature conditions. Next question, how does latitude affect temperature? So temperature decreases from the equator towards the poles because insolation decreases. For example, Singapore is hotter than Greenland because it is closer to the equator. Next question, how does altitude affect temperature? So temperature decreases with height because the atmosphere is heated from below. For example, Darjeeling is cooler than Kolkata, although both receives sunlight. Next question, how does distance from sea affect temperature? So water heats and cools slowly, therefore coastal areas have moderate temperature while inland areas have extreme temperatures. For example, Mumbai has a smaller temperature range than Delhi. Next question, how do ocean currents affect temperature? So warm currents increase temperature while cold currents decrease temperature. For example, the Gulf Stream keeps Western Europe warmer than places at similar latitudes. Next question, what is temperature inversion? So normally temperature decreases with height. In temperature inversion, temperature increases with height. Cold air remains near the ground and warm air stays above. Next question, under what conditions does temperature inversion occur? So temperature inversion occurs during long nights, clear skies, dry air, calm weather, snow or ice covered surfaces. For example, during winter mornings in valleys, cold air settles near the ground causing fog formation. There is a final bonus question. Can you explain why Darjeeling is cooler than Kolkata even though both receive sunlight? So the main reason is altitude. The atmosphere is heated from below by terrestrial radiation. As altitude increases, temperature decreases because the air becomes thinner and receives less heat from the Earth's surface. Darjeeling is located at a much higher elevation than Kolkata, therefore Darjeeling experiences lower temperatures. For example, even in summer, people visit Darjeeling because it remains cool, whereas Kolkata experiences much higher temperature. So this shows that altitude is one of the most important controls of temperature distribution on the Earth. Thank you for listening. Keep listening for further audio classes. Thank you.